Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Today we're going to be building the 1/35th scale M3 Stuart Honey version from Academy Models. It's 35th scale. It has a little bit of an interior to it and a very easy to put together kit, good for any type of modeler, whether a beginner all the way up to an advanced modeler to really detail some stuff up. I also thought it's a very small tank, so it would go along really well with our little Japanese tank that we just built recently. It's about the same size actually, so it's good to do a couple of kits in a row that are low on the part count and real easy to put together and just have some fun painting it. So let's get started on it. Okay, we're going to start off taking a look at the lower hull. As you can see, it's a partial bathtub hull, which means the sides and the bottom and part of the front are already attached, so you have a nice squared off surface. I've assembled the multi types of wheels that are going to go on just one side, which each one of the bogie wheels. Also keep in mind as you assemble, note the top spring. On each side, one goes one way, one goes the other way, and that's based on forward and back. So quickly what I'll do is I'll just show you how each one of those go together, and they're pretty straightforward and simple. Attaching that. Now I've obviously sanded up all these parts already, so that's a good half an hour time just to get those all put together. And that is your idler wheel that quickly. Now we will go back after this glue dries and sand off the seam. There's also a little plug back here, fills in all of that, so we'll let that set up for a little while and dry. The wheels are very simple too, just lining up one side of the bogie, dropping the wheels, and then just a matter of putting a little cement here. And see if I can do this on camera with just one hand out of the way. Yep, and that pops right into there. And then the other top of it is simple enough. And then this will just plug right into the top of here. So while those parts dry, what we'll do now is we'll actually attach the ones that are ready to go. Your drive sprocket, of course, is just two pieces. They easily pop together right there, and then it'll slide right on. We also have your return rollers up on top, which we'll attach those first through here. Like that. Okay, and with those in place now, put a little cement there, and that little spring up on top faces forward, and that just pops right into place. And then of course the other spring will face towards the rear of the tank, and that'll pop also right into place. And finally, little glue on this, and there's a pin in here as well to help you keep it straight, which you could cut out if you wanted to move the suspension around a little bit. Once you line that up, you've got the whole side of the suspension done. And then lastly, we'll just glue the back of this in. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish up the other side of the bogies and all the other parts of the lower hull, and we'll come back and start working on the interior. I want to show you guys where we're at right now. I've assembled part of the interior and slipped this into place, and that was mainly to see with the firewall in place how the top section was going to fit, and it appears to fit very well, and it just kind of snaps into place. We also had all the road wheels can actually turn, so we might have to glue those down later when it comes to put the tracks on, but should be able to just to maintain like that. Now what I'm going to do is we'll come back to the interior later, but we'll start gluing on all of the parts for the the upper part of the hull. And I've built a bunch of the sub-assemblies already. I have to do a little bit more sanding on a few of them here and there, but it looks like after dry fitting all this stuff, it looks like everything kind of fits pretty well. I've also attached a few of the grab handles in place now, and then we have things like the lights. All that kind of stuff just pops into place. So shouldn't be too much construction right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put all these pieces on right now, and we will go ahead and use these fenders as well. And I was playing around with those, and they've got kind of an unusual shape right up here that's designed to fit right into place on this. You've got to finagle it a little bit here and there just to get it to line up perfectly, but you can. So it's, even if you see a little gap, keep playing with it, and then it'll suddenly snap into the right position and goes away pretty well. So I'll go ahead and put all these pieces on and come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm taking a little break from sanding right now to show you what we've done so far. I'm in the process of sanding out. There's a little bit of a ridge coming from when we attached the side fenders. Kind of wraps around the front here. We're taking care of the little lip that was a little bit too much on it. Plus also we attached the front two hatches here. It's a little bit of a fit problem getting the hinges to wrap up inside the other half of the hinge. They just were really tight and didn't want to go in, but with a little sanding and then a little bit of the liquid glue, we were able to push it all the way up. There is still a tiny little bit of filling that I need to do down there with some putty. Then we'll do some sanding and clean all that up as well. The rest of the parts all fit on pretty well, zero problems. And now we're just going to go to the back and start attaching some more of the plate. We also attached the rear fenders right here, and you can see there's a seam in that we're going to have to take out as well. And the rest of the parts, like these filters, they fit fairly well. Might have to do a tiny bit more sanding on that, and then of course the rest of it is just boxes and things like for accessories that go on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and spend some time now doing all the finish sanding and getting all these other parts on, and we'll come back and start working on the turret. Next, we're going to work on the tracks, and the Academy kit comes with both the rubber band as well as the individual tracks. These are going to require obviously a lot more work because they all have to be cut off and sanded. But with the little side pins you put on here, you can get a pretty good looking set of tracks to sag on it. But because I put the fenders on the side, you won't be able to see any of that anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and just use the rubber bands on this build. Okay, I've got the tracks attached on now. They're the type that unfortunately don't glue together. You have to melt them together. So we melted it together, and then I always put a staple through it as well, just to make sure it stays in place. So that staple's tucked up inside there. You'll never be able to see it, but that way we have a good strong bond, and the tracks aren't going to snap later. Got a couple of clamps on the front to make sure that we have a nice, very, very straight meeting point between the upper and lower hull. In the meantime, I was working a little bit on the turret, and I did build the gun and put all those little pieces onto it there. I'm not going to go overboard on detailing the inside of the turret. Most of it is not going to be seen. I don't plan on having any of the hatches open or anything on that, so we're just going to go ahead and attach the gun to the lower platform here, and then start building up the other pieces wrapped around it, and start building up the rest of the top of the turret. Okay, I've got all of the pieces attached to the vehicle now. It's a pretty easy to put together build, probably a grand total of maybe about 4 hours of actual building. The fit on the kit is good. There are a few areas that require some attention that I'm still in the process of puttying right now, so filling in some of these areas on the cupola, around parts of the turret, just minor stuff like that. A little bit of the VALLEJO plastic putty, this stuff right here. This works really, really well. And the best part of all about that is you can take a paintbrush dipped in water and really work it into the areas and clean off a lot of the excess without having to do a lot of sanding. So I'm still in the process of doing that right now. Kind of give you a little spin around the entire vehicle here. This would definitely be a kit for any type of age group. And I also need to do some more sanding back here as well, I noticed. But very easy to put together, so no one should have any problem with it. And then the fun part obviously will be painting on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend the next about an hour or so just cleaning up all the thing, taking off any extra little parts that any seams that I didn't notice or anything, give it a once over, and then we'll come back and start putting the paint on. For the base color, I mixed up 50% XF59 and 50% XF57 buff to come up with the base color for the entire tank. Now I've masked off the top portion for camouflage, and we're going to use a special type of slate green. I had to mix it up. I used 70% XF67 NATO green with 30% XF57 buff. So I had the paint already done, and I was starting to put the decals on when I was noticing that the decals must have been old or something, because they just would not stick at all, no matter what I did to it. So I ended up scraping off the red and white stripes and decided to paint that. So we masked that off and did a white field. Now we'll go back over it and mask off the white and then put a red stripe down the middle. This is still drying down here, so we'll take that off pretty soon too. I'll probably still use the decal. Some of the numbering, those seem to stick okay, and some of the front plates. So it would just seem to be the red and white stripes that didn't want to stick very well. Okay, I finished up the red stripes, as well as putting the rest of the decals that were able to get down to stick pretty well. Now we're going to start doing the chipping effect, and I'm using our mixture of 70% NATO brown, 30% NATO black mixed together, and we're just going to start doing some chips across any of the surfaces that would get a little wear and tear on it, including going across the paint, the red and white stripe paint, as well as any of the other decals. Kind of blend everything together. Now we're going to start using our streaking grime. First we coat the model with thinner. That makes the enamel paint flow a little bit easier across it. And taking our streaking grime, we're going to gradually put a little bit across the top, and then taking our big wide flat brush, pull down on it, and that makes nice streaks coming down on the side of the vehicle. Okay, now I'm going to mix up a mixture of Vallejo's Desert Dust Wash with a little bit of the Vallejo Pigment Light Sienna. Make kind of like a little bit of a paste, and then apply it to all of the tracks as well as the side of the hull. Then after that dries, we'll go ahead and take a cotton swab and take it off the rubber portion of the pad. Okay, here's our completed model. Give you guys a little 360 view of it. Overall, it was a very simple kit to put together. This was probably a grand total of maybe about 6 hours worth of actual build time. And then of course the painting. Fit was pretty good on the kit. There were a few areas that I required a little putty here and there, but nothing major and nothing that the average modeler couldn't handle pretty well. Kit runs about in the $30 range for it, so not very expensive either. So we would recommend this. This is a great kit for someone who's looking for a weekend project, something they can knock out and turns into a very nice model. So I want to thank you guys as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have more videos coming.